Let me take you back, way back to a sun-drenched land called Kemet, known today as Egypt. Imagine towering temples, libraries brimming with papyrus scrolls, and scholars debating the mysteries of mathematics and the cosmos. This wasn't just a civilization of pyramids, it was a crucible of knowledge where concepts like meaning harmony and order, shaped both science and philosophy. Have you ever wondered where geometry, that bedrock of modern math, truly began? Cometians used geometry, literally earth measurement, to reclaim farmland after the Nile's flooding, and they didn't stop there. They mapped the stars, tracked time with water clocks called clepsydras, and even pioneered early chemistry, which they called chemia. Now, you might be thinking, but weren't the Greeks the real inventors? Not so fast. Kemet's priests and scribes had been compiling wisdom for centuries before Plato or Aristotle were even born. Picture this: young Greeks, hungry for knowledge, traveling to the temples of Kemet, eager to sit at the feet of learned priests. Why? Because the world's first universities, like the House of Life at Peronk, were right there along the Nile. So, if we're tracing the roots of Western thought, we have to start not in Athens, but in the shadow of the pyramids, where the seeds of philosophy first took root. But how did this transfer of knowledge really happen? Here's the setup. By the 6th century BCE, Greek thinkers like Pythagoras and Thales were making headlines for their brilliant insights. But dig deeper, and you'll find a pattern. Many of these scholars made a literal pilgrimage to Kemet. Imagine Pythagoras, the father of the right triangle theorem, spending over 20 years in Kemet studying with priests. He wasn't just learning math. He was absorbing cosmology, numerology, and the sacred science of harmony, the very same concepts embedded in the Kemetic temples. Now you might ask, did the Greeks admit where they learned all this? Sometimes, yes. Herodotus calls Egypt the teacher of the Greeks. But more often, the line blurs. The Greeks used the term philosophia, love of wisdom, but the wisdom itself was often repackaged Kemetic knowledge. Here's an analogy. Imagine borrowing your neighbor's secret recipe, then winning a bake-off, but barely mentioning where you got the idea. The transmission wasn't just casual. Plato himself is believed to have spent years in Egypt, learning from the priests at Heliopolis. So when we read Greek philosophy, are we really reading Greek ideas or echoes of the Nile? The evidence points to a cultural relay race, with the baton of wisdom passing from Cometian sages to eager Greek minds. So, why does it matter who originated these ideas? Let's unpack this, because history isn't just about credit. It's about identity and legacy. When we erase Kemet's role, we not only misrepresent the birth of philosophy, but we also obscure the African roots of scientific inquiry. Picture a young student today, learning about Socrates, Aristotle, or Euclid, but not knowing that these icons stood on the shoulders of Black African thinkers, whose names are mostly lost to time. That's more than an oversight, it's a kind of intellectual colonization. Now you might be thinking, but can we prove this connection? The conflict here is that much was lost when the Library of Alexandria burned and when Greeks translated, sometimes mistranslated, Kemetic works. But papyri like the Rhine mathematical papyrus and medical scrolls such as the Ebers papyrus survive as proof that advanced algebra and medicine predated the Greek Golden Age. Here's the resolution. Recognizing Kemet's foundational role isn't just about setting the record straight. It's about reconnecting philosophy and science to a deeper, richer, and more diverse human story. That, I believe, is wisdom worth reclaiming. So next time you hear about the origins of Western thought, remember, the Nile flowed into the Aegean long before Socrates ever asked, "What is virtue?" And that current of knowledge changed the world.